Today I want to show you my go-to meal for when I'm having people over and I don't have a lot of time to cook. Italian sausage pasta in a red wine and tomato sauce. Stick around. Hosting has always been my favorite part of cooking. Having people over and enjoying a good meal is my happy place. In fact, that's why I became a chef. I always enjoy the sharing part even better than the cooking part. But I also know hosting can be stressful, especially when you're trying to impress. That's why today I want to show you a recipe that can impress without the stress. As a bonus, I'm going to give you some tips on how to reduce the stress of hosting at the end of the video. But for now, let's jump into the kitchen. What I love about this recipe is that it needs very few ingredients to look and taste amazing. And the trick is to use some unusual ingredients, like this Italian sausage, seasoned with fennel seed. Fennel seed is not something you usually see in tomato sauce, but they taste amazing together. If you can't find sausages with fennel seed, you can always add it yourself. I've also made this recipe with sausages that had peperoncino and it tasted amazing, which is why I'll also be adding some chili. Now usually this pasta is made with rigatonni, which works great, but I like to make it with conchiglie, which is pasta shaped like seashells. It's a less commonly used pasta, which automatically makes your dish look more interesting without adding any more work. But I feel like this shot doesn't do the pasta justice, so here's something more dramatic. Other than that, you'll just need some olive oil, 1 red onion, a few garlic cloves, a cup of red wine, 800 grams of canned tomatoes, and some fresh herbs. I'm using rosemary, thyme, and some basil here, but don't feel like you have to use all 3. Just use whatever you have available. I'll also use some parmesan to finish the dish. Start by setting a large pan on medium heat and add some olive oil. While it's heating, peel and chop the onion, then throw it into the pan. For the sausage, you want to remove the casing and cut it into chunks. But if you want to have one less chopping board to clean, you can just slice the casing and use your hands to throw the chunks in and let the sausage caramelize with the onions. Here you can see the sausage is starting to caramelize and you can see some really nice browning on the pan. You just want some light coloring, otherwise you'll dry out the sausage. While it's browning, peel the garlic and crush it straight into the pan and fry it for about a minute. Then throw in the chili flakes and give everything a good stir. Then deglaze the pan with red wine, making sure you scrape the pan to get all the brown bits into the sauce. Now turn the heat up and let the wine reduce by about half. And while that's reducing, pour yourself a glass of wine and relax. Enjoy yourself. It's part of hosting. Your guests will like you better. Okay, so this reduced a little more than I wanted, but that's okay, it didn't dry out. So now I'll just throw in the chopped tomatoes and the fresh herbs and bring everything to a boil. I'm gonna let the sauce simmer on medium-low heat for about 15 minutes while I cook the pasta. By the way, you can also cook the sauce up to 5 days in advance, which basically eliminates any hosting stress. While the sauce is simmering, bring a pot of water to a boil and throw in your pasta. I'm gonna cook this for 11 minutes, which is the al dente time, and then I'm gonna finish cooking it in the pan. If your pasta does not have an al dente time, just cook it for 2 minutes less than whatever the packaging says. While the pasta's cooking, I'm gonna clean the kitchen. The pasta's almost ready, so now's the time to taste the sauce for seasoning. Once you're happy with the seasoning, I recommend you ladle some of the sauce into a bowl or a jar. I'm cooking pasta for about 4 people, so I'm not gonna need all of the sauce, and I can always add more if I need to. Now add the pasta to the pan using a slotted spoon. Add a cup of the cooking water to the pan and cook it for a few minutes on medium-high heat until the pasta is done and you're happy with the consistency of the sauce. The starch in the cooking water helps the sauce to thicken and create an emulsion, helping it stick to the pasta better. This step only works if you're using regular pasta. If you're using gluten-free pasta, I don't recommend adding the cooking water to the pan. Gluten-free pasta doesn't usually have the starch needed to create the emulsion, and sometimes it can taste kind of weird. So what you can do is just finish cooking the pasta all the way in the pot and then just mix it with the sauce in the pan. This pasta is looking perfect. The sauce is just thick enough to stick to it, and I also just love the shape of the pasta. You can see how the shells scoop up the sauce, which is why I think it is perfect for this dish. Now turn off the heat, add some parmesan, and give it a good mix, and give it one last tasting. To plate, just serve some pasta and top it with parmesan. For an extra flavor kick, you can drizzle some of your very best olive oil on top, then just tear some basil leaves on top and enjoy. I love this dish because it's easy to make and it is always a hit. Having friends over should be enjoyable and not stressful. So remember these 3 tips to reduce your hosting stress. Number 1, interesting does not have to mean difficult, it can just mean different. Look for ingredients that help give a new twist to simple dishes, like using conchiglie instead of spaghetti. Number 2, if you can, prepare some things in advance. This doesn't have to mean making the full dish. Even doing some simple tasks in advance, like shredding the parmesan, can help reduce the stress. And number 3, don't forget to take a few minutes every now and then to clean the kitchen while you cook. Not only will this help you keep a clear head, you'll also be much happier walking into a clean kitchen after your guests are gone and you've eaten a full meal. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you invite some friends over for dinner without fearing the stress. If you do, please let me know in the comments below. Also, check out my donkey pasta video if you haven't seen it already. It explains emulsions with much more detail, and it also shows you 3 of my favorite pasta recipes. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one. Bye.
It's cold.
It's not cold, is it?
Cold.
You were fine.